Hey, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gen. In today's video, I've got a banger for you. I'm going to cover the most important on-chain activities that I think you should be prioritizing if you want to earn some of the best rewards in the next 12 months. So let's get into it. But before we do, just remember, nothing I say is financial advice. Please do your own research. I'm just a guy on YouTube. While we're at it, everything that I show you is linked down below, and that also includes my paid services. So what powers a lot of what I do are these liquidity markets or liquidity protocols. I really prefer things like Aave and Community Finance because they are very safe protocols compared to all of the protocols that launch that potentially may have some exploits because you are required to deposit tokens on chain. The way these markets or these protocols work is you lend various tokens to them, you earn interest or APY, you can take it one step further and borrow against those assets, which is what the core of my strategy is. I typically lend very stable assets like Ethereum that is not being restaked or staked. This is to prevent any depegs. But basically, I stake my major token, I will borrow a stable coin against it. And then what I will do is I will use those stable coins in either DeFi or I will use them to invest in other assets that I have high conviction in. To prevent any sort of potential liquidation issues, when I am borrowing against my capital, I try not to go over 25 to 30%. This is sort of my recommendation if you don't want to have the hassle. Now, Aave is what I use in the Ethereum virtual mainnet on sort of all EVM chains. However, in Solana's ecosystem, I will use Community Finance. Community Finance, in fact, is having their season 3 airdrop still active. So they are counting your borrows and your lends. And you can see here that my net APY is 2.99%. So I'm also earning as I use these funds in DeFi. So now that we've gone through that, let's start off by talking about DEXs or decentralized exchanges. Basically, they take the place of the centralized exchange that you may have used, whether it's Binance or Coinbase, and you use these DEXs to do your transactions, to swap and to bridge. Now, the most important one, in my opinion, is Jumper Exchange. It just has sort of the best sort of number of chains available, and you can sort of have tons of different routes. It's an aggregator, so what it does is it will suggest routes for you based on timing as well as potential price. Now, Jumper, if you use it a lot, I hope I said Jumper Exchange earlier, but Jumper Exchange, if you use it quite frequently, you earn experience. Those experience points will level up your JLP, which is your character, and that will actually qualify you for other incentives as well. On top of that, while I am using this, I have a strong preference for Stargate. Stargate is tied to Layer 0. Layer 0 has already done their first airdrop, but they will have future airdrops as well. And the way to earn that is to make sure that you are using Stargate as a preferential route when you are bridging. So within Jumper, when I'm bridging, for example, some ETH from Base to Ethereum mainnet, I will just select Stargate over here, pay an extra 50 cents, and it will pay dividends. In fact, I was doing this for the months last summer, and I earned an extra $3,000 in an airdrop, and I probably paid like $60 or $70 overall in bridging. Remember, this is to help you do what you already do. My recommendation is not for you to go out here and just do random transactions. Now, jumping from that, which is sort of EVM focused, to Solana once again, this is Jupiter, and Jupiter is, in my opinion, the best DEX in the Solana ecosystem. Once again, I use this basically whenever I am making any sort of swap. So I can go and swap some USDC for Sol, for example, and it's very, very good. The reason I like this is they have Jupuary every so often as well. So every year they will release an amount of token for those who support the Jupiter ecosystem. The last two really had to do with the DEX use. I suspect the one that will be coming up in January of 2026 will include some DEX, but will likely include some other functionalities as well. And here's another app that's somewhat very recent, DeFi.app. You can use this. All you got to do is go into your settings and attach some wallet. So you connect whichever wallets you want, and then you can basically trade on here much like you would with a DEX. And it is very cheap. Once again, it functions very similarly to Jumper. So definitely check this out. Definitely think it's worthwhile using this as well. And if you are in, make sure you go in and join a faction as well to earn some additional XP. So that was DEXs. Now what I want to talk to you about is perpetual DEXs. So perpetual DEXs are very lucrative, right? So we all know about Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid was probably one of the best airdrops that we've seen in a very long time, very community focused, but it was rewarding those who use their perp DEX and sort of their spot ecosystem. So basically perp DEX allows you to have perpetual contracts. This is sort of where you're able to use leverage, have no expiry, and sort of still use that automated market maker. So you have that sort of order book and such. Now, some of you may be hearing me talk about perp DEXs and you want to tune out. Now, if you don't know how to trade, there's another way to make money with perpetual DEXs, and it's by using what's called a delta neutral strategy. What that means is basically, let's say you think Ethereum will, or let's say you want to bet on Ethereum. If I make a bet that Ethereum is going to go up by 1.1x leverage, that Ethereum will go up. On another platform, I'll make the same bet that Ethereum will go down though, and 1.1. So I do the exact opposite, so they equal out. What will happen is you will still be responsible for paying some borrowing fees, which aren't that massive, but there's no way you can lose a lot of money, because if one is up $500, the other one will be down $500. So if you are not good at trading, my recommendation is, number one, use low leverage anyways, but number two, adopt the delta neutral strategy, and you have a wide variety of DEXs to select from. So one of the things you can do is you can still use Hyperliquid if you haven't already. My recommendation is to check this out. Definitely, there likely will be a Hyperliquid Season 2 airdrop, and to qualify for that, my recommendation is to use the Perpetual DEX, but also to get some Hyperliquid token, which you can do by going over to the spot over here and typing in hype, and you can purchase some over here. Once you've done that, you can then transfer that hype. There'll be a button here to transfer it, and once you do that, you can actually stake it with some validators. That's something that I would recommend doing, but also, open a delta neutral trade if you need to on Ethereum or some very powerful, strong asset. The reason I recommend more common assets like Ethereum or Sol is because you will find them across a ton of different perpetual DEXs. I wouldn't want you to long a random XYZ coin and then you can't short it on another platform, and now you're actually at risk. Obviously, before you do any of this, if you are doing delta neutral, make sure you plan out your trade and you know exactly which ones are going to sort of mirror. The next thing is Avantis. So Avantis is on Base, right? So Hyperliquid is on Arbitrum, Avantis is on Base. The first thing I'd recommend doing, right, not financial advice, is going to the earn section and depositing it into either the junior or senior vault. You can deposit some USDC. If you do that, basically you earn a certain portion of the trading fees and losses. So obviously if there's some losses, then you lose money. If there's gains, you gain money. And because we're basically talking about a casino, these ecosystems are super profitable because a lot of traders just lose a lot of money. So you can basically deposit in the casino and earn. And you can see here, The base APR is 3.38% on Junior Vault and 3.29 on the Senior Vault. So if you click on Junior Vault right here, you can see you can basically deposit. I've deposited $2,455. I guess $3,000, but it's when you sort of use their JV USDC, it gets converted to this. Obviously, it'll come back, but definitely something you want to look into. The next thing as well is, once again, use the Perpetual DEX. So you could use any of these assets. I like just using ETH, and you can basically long or short it. You can see here I have a long that's up $15. Yay. Now, one more thing that I want you to look at is you go to the leaderboard every so often. You can see here, I've only started doing this recently. I'm number 788 with a P&L of $126, 100% win trades. So I'm not using Delta Neutral, but like I said, if you're not confident in it, then don't worry about it. Now, the next one is Drift. So Drift is in the Solana ecosystem. First thing, once again, is I would go to their DSOL liquid staking under Earn and DSOL liquid staking right here. I would stake some SOL to the Drift validator. What this will do is it will earn you some fuel token, and then I will use these deposits, right? Because that's how it works. Whatever you deposit through this can be used as your margin when you're going to trade and perpetuals. So once you do that, you can select whatever token you want. Once again, here I'll pick ETH if I'm going to do a counter trade. And then I can basically, put in the amount and do the long and whatever. You have a sort of tab for leverage. Please do not go over, do not use any excessive leverage. 1.5 is likely enough, okay? The next one is Ethereal. So Ethereal is quite simple. They don't have their Perpetual DEX up right now. But if you have some USDE, which you can get by going to Ethereum mainnet and swapping for USDE, right? Athena USD, you can then deposit that into Ethereal. In my case, I deposited 7,787, and then you will earn some points. Once again, I'm doing this to help me get an airdrop as well. Finally, the last one is Backpack. Backpack has both a spot and a perpetuals. They call it futures, right? They have both, so you can go ahead and make those orders. I think it's really cool because if you go to the lend button here, when you have money in here, you can actually have it earn you interest on your collateral. This is another thing I think is worth doing because Backpack will likely have a significant airdrop in the future, and it's also very well tied into Mad Lads. So Mad Lads is the premier NFT in the Solana ecosystem. Mad Lads is basically made by Backpack. So definitely think there is something to be gained right there. Not even beyond that, the Mad Lads NFT gets all of the exclusive benefits on new launches, whitelists, airdrops in the Sol ecosystem, sometimes even in the EVM space. Definitely think it's worthwhile. If you want an in-depth video on Backpack, because I'm not going to go through all of this right here, just ask me, I can definitely do it. I will include the referral links down below, but I definitely think you guys need to be checking all these things out. So I went through all of that in less than 15 minutes. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter. Until next time, I'll see you later. Thanks again for watching.